Hello, Sagittarius risings. Welcome to your monthly zodiac reading for the month of June 2025. As always, we are going to check an overall or get an overall energy theme for the month. We will pull tarot for each week as well as clarify that tarot and correlate those messages to the astrological transits that are occurring during those weeks. And then we will wrap it up with some additional oracle guidance. So let's see what Sagittarius energy needs to know for the month of June. We'll put those back. You guys have got a big month. There's a full moon coming up in your sign. Have faith. So that could really symbolize that things are going to feel very challenging for this month, but that's okay. Challenge produces a lot of growth, and it could represent that with the full moon in your sign, that there are probably going to be things coming up within your first house or around your sense of self that are going to be revealed or might even need to be released. So let's see what the tarot has to say. The Knight of Wands in reverse. So you pulled your own energy the first week of the month. This is the week that we have a Venus moving into the sign of Taurus. Venus is at home in Taurus. That is her ruling sign. So Venus is love, money, beauty, aesthetic, value, like what we place tangible value on. And it's moving into the sign of Taurus. For you guys, Taurus is actually sitting in your sixth house. And the sixth house governs things like your health and your work habits, right? It governs daily routine, stuff that we do on a daily basis, and even coworkers, right? Because we tend to see coworkers on a daily basis. Here, the Knight of Wands, your energy could be feeling very, very scattered all over the place, right? There's no real clear direction. There's no real clear focus for where you're wanting this energy to go. It could be just very low energy, not really having the energy to maybe put in the effort that you need during your day-to-day task. It can represent somebody in your life who is a very selfish person, right? Someone who's very much out for themselves and not really giving a consideration to the people around them. Here in the second week, Temperance in reverse. So this is the week that we have the full moon happening in your sign. This is also the week that we've got Mercury, the planet of thoughts, ideas, communication, is moving into the sign of Cancer. Cancer is a cardinal water sign. Cardinal signs are initiators, and Cancer is kind of like the initiator of emotional safety. It's the initiator of kindness and protectiveness, right? It's the initiator of the family. Here, Cancer sits in your eighth house. This is not an easy house. This is a karmic house, but this house has the tendency to do a lot with transformation. Okay. On the 9th, we've got Jupiter, your ruling planet, moving into the sign of Cancer. So your eighth house could feel very, very expansive. The eighth house governs things like transformational energy. It governs things such as death and rebirth. It governs themes such as sex, death, taxes, debt, inheritances, shared resources between you and a partner, or you and loved ones, right? Estates, things like that. And then it also governs, there was one more. Oh, the occult, right? I read an astrologer, she compared the eighth house to like the red light district, that all of the things that are located in the eighth house are all things that like nobody wants to talk about. Like they're very taboo and nobody really likes to talk about those things, right? So that energy kind of houses very challenging subjects. So for Jupiter moving into that house, that house, it could kind of smooth over that energy, right? It could expand, like if you've got a lot of family issues, if there's a lot of family lack of boundaries within your family, if there's tension around shared resources with your family, then that could be, Jupiter is going to expand on that, and it could smooth things over because Jupiter is a benefic. It's a very benevolent energy. It's very much about abundance, expansion, growth, luck, things like that. So it could actually bring a resolution to some of those issues, which is lovely. Or it could ultimately expand on any imbalances that are occurring energetically. On the 11th is when we experience the full moon in your sign. So full moons are a buildup of energy, and the light of the moon is ultimately revealing what does work versus what doesn't work. And then it's going to reveal, probably through feeling emotions, memories, emotions, situations kind of bubbling to the surface. It's going to reveal things that need to be healed and released through that mode. And with you guys, that week, you've got, like I said, Jupiter, Temperance in reverse. And what I think is interesting, both of these cards are associated with your energy. The Knight of Wands is Sagittarius energy. Temperance is Sagittarius energy. So this is very much about you. Your energy is scattered all over the place. Your energy, you need to be more patient and have faith, right? That full moon in Sagittarius is going to be hitting your first house. Your sense of self is going to be revealing to you where you need to have more moderation and probably where you need to be more patient. Here in the third week, the Ace of Swords, aces are brand new beginnings or new opportunities, and swords represent the mind, thoughts, ideas, and communication. So it could be that you're receiving a new idea or even a moment of communication, right? You could be receiving a new opportunity to communicate something to another person or even receive that communication. This is the week that we have Mars moving into Virgo. Mars is the god of war. It's action, aggression, assertion, violence, power, and control. It's also about desire. And Virgo, for you guys, sits in your 10th house. You could be receiving new communication around a career. You could be receiving new ideas around your career, public image, or even reputation, right? So that's really, really lovely. Like, that's a nice card to see. We also go into Cancer season on the 21st. Anytime we shift into a new astrological season, those themes, qualities that are associated with that sign tend to take center stage. And that is when we will also focus on the summer solstice, right? We step into a new kind of era or a new wave of energy for this time of the year. Here in the last week, we've got the Two of Wands. So the Two of Wands, twos are about decisions. They're about choices and consequences, duality, relationships, and harmony. And it's like you guys are, it's like you're ready to make a plan and you're ready to move forward. Like you're like, I know that something needs to change and I'm ready to make sure that that change happens. This is the week that we are experiencing the new moon within the sign of Cancer. New moons are a blank slate or a dark moon. They're kind of like a blank chalkboard, right? Where you can write and set intentions for how you want to move forward around that area of your life. And again, this is hitting your 8th house. Okay, so maybe making decisions on how you want to handle family matters, making choices or having ideas around how you want to move forward in regards to shared resources with a partner. Maybe even choosing to move forward about a new job. I don't want to say a new job, but like learning something new, right? Let's see. But all in all, these first 2 months, and look what just came flying out of the deck. The Eight of Wands, also Sagittarius energy. I'm going to put that there because it did come flying, like it just flew out and I picked it up and it's more Sagittarius energy and I can't ignore that. Can't ignore that. And the Eight of Wands is about making quick decisions, right? Making those quick decisions. And I actually kind of want to do this. So here, the Knight of Wands in reverse, the King of Pentacles, and the Ace of Pentacles. Very, very nice. So here, the Knight of Wands, like your energy could feel very, very scattered, but you can rein that in. Like you're being presented an opportunity with Venus governing Taurus, right? Because Venus rules what we value. When we think of value, we think of monetary, tangible things. This is what Pentacles governs. Also, this card is ruled by the sign of Taurus. So Venus moving into Taurus is representing that you're about to receive a new opportunity for almost like substantial, maybe even substantial financial growth. And it could be maybe that you're hesitant to take that opportunity. But again, the Ace of Wands or the Eight of Wands came out, and this is a decision that needs to be made quickly. And it looks like ultimately it's going to be a decision that works out in your favor because the Ace of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles are both direct. Taurus is very focused on material security and material comfort. However, he invests wisely. Right? If something is not going to contribute to his overall happiness, he's not going to invest his money, his time, or his energy into it, right? Remember, time, energy, mental energy, all of those things are physical resources that you as an individual possess, right? But it does look like you're going to receive a new opportunity that you may feel hesitant taking. Right? Maybe it doesn't inspire you in a way that you're hoping, but it is an opportunity to maybe set you up in a much more material or tangibly secure frame of mind, right? Is the opportunity you're receiving going to pay off in the long run? If so, make sure that you're making that quick decision, okay? Here, in the second week, Temperance in reverse, the Ten of Wands in reverse, and the Four of Pentacles. It seems like you're very impatient with putting down whatever burden it is you're carrying, right? If you're carrying around a lot of responsibility, if it feels something that is just beginning to weigh you down, you're very impatient to get rid of something. Right? You're very impatient to get rid of it. And it's because you know that when you put this burden down, you're not going to feel bored and frustrated with it. Like you're not going to regret that that's what happens. However, a piece of advice for the Four of Cups in reverse, don't be so quick to move against something that you miss out that transitionatory period, right? If you're receiving a new opportunity and it's asking you to walk away from something that you've been carrying that feels very heavy and that you feel like you're ready to put down, there's a sense of relief that is going to come with that. And if you're just ready to move on, you're going to miss that beautiful moment between putting something down and letting it go and picking up something new. You're going to miss that excitement. You're going to miss that sense of relief, and you're going to miss that sense of growth and transformation that is going to come along with this change. So just be mindful of that. Don't be so impatient to get rid of something that you don't recognize the value that it brought when you had it. Here in the third week, the Ace of Swords, the Seven of Swords. So it could be that you're receiving a sense of communication, but it could be that whatever the communication is, it's not exactly what it seems, right? Because we've got the Seven of Swords here. Listen to your intuition. Consult maybe with a woman in your life who is very intuitive, who's very nurturing, and who is very sensible about whatever matters is coming. Like someone who's very emotionally intelligent, someone who is very nurturing, someone who is very kind. Make sure that whatever communication you're receiving or new idea you're receiving, The Seven of Swords is tied to it, which means that it's not what it seems. There's an air of deception about it. And you need to maybe consult with someone who is a little bit more intuitive, someone who you deem as a nurturing guide, right? For some of you, whatever idea is coming to you, you need to move in silence with it. You don't need to tell anyone, just move in silence and listen to your intuition above all else, okay? Because sometimes when we tell people about things, they inadvertently spread negativity all over it with their criticism or their desire, their jealousy, their envy, whatever the case may be, may not even be ill intent. However, sometimes we just need to keep things to ourselves before we move on and let other people know. Here in the last week, the Two of Wands, the Four of Wands in reverse, and the Three of Wands. It could be that you're kind of debating on making a choice of walking away from something that is just not bringing you the fire that you really need in your life, right? It could be that there is some instability or unhappiness within the home life. Again, this is the week of the new moon in Cancer. Cancer does govern the home. It governs the family. It governs the mother, right? So it could be that there is some unhappiness or instability within the home and you're hesitant to move forward. But you know that you need to make a decision on how you want to move forward. Are you going to leave or are you going to go? Right? Are you going to stay or are you going to go? What are you going to do? Okay? And with the new moon is an opportunity. If you want to stay in your current situation, you want to try and work it out, you need to discover, one, what the issues are on your side and on the other person's side, and then what your needs, wants, and desires are out of the situation, what their needs, wants, and desires are out of the situation, and how can you come together to make this a balanced partnership. Right? Again, whether that is a romantic partner, whether that is with a parent, whether that is with a child, whether that is with a business partner, a sibling, whatever the case may be, now is the time for you to figure out whether you're going to stay or whether you're going to go. And again, that's the new moon in Cancer. That's the 8th house. It's not an easy house. It's a very heavy house. Okay? But whatever decision you make during that time is going to be transformative. There's no doubt about that. Okay. But have faith that if your situation does not seem ideal in the moment, that does not mean that all is lost. Okay. It doesn't mean that all is lost, and it doesn't mean that you can't continue to move forward in a healthier, happier way. Okay. Unless you're in a very dangerous, unsafe situation. And if you really want to work on it, to make it grow, to make it progress, to heal it, there are always steps that can be taken. Here in the first week, emotional baggage. What are you carrying around that makes you hesitant to take this new opportunity? What are you carrying around? Is it the fact that you've invested into this particular endeavor? You're invested into your job, you're invested into your coworkers. What is it? What are you carrying around? Do you feel like you're not good enough? Venus and Taurus all govern things around worth. What is something worth to me? What am I worth to me? If you're struggling with self-worth, you're going to struggle with taking new opportunities because it may not, your mind is going to convince you that the opportunity is just not good enough and you're just going to stay where you are. When in reality, no, that the new opportunity may not be ideal, but it's an opportunity for financial stability and growth. And it does not have to be permanent. But your mind, your ego, that lack of self-worth is going to try and convince you we might as well just stay where we are because we're not worthy of any of that. Right? So just be mindful of any emotional baggage that you're carrying around that could prevent you from seizing this new opportunity. You don't want to do that, I promise, because it does look like with the Ace of Pentacles that there's a chance for growth here. There's a chance for something tangible to be built upon and developed. Here, prioritize reflection. Why are you so impatient? Why are you so impatient, Sagittarius? I know why you're impatient. I know why, because you're a Sagittarius. You're a Sagittarius. Sagittarius is all about growth and expansion and movement and excitement and joy and optimism. And so when things don't pan out that way in your life, you get very frustrated, feeling very down and out, right? But asking yourself, why am I feeling so impatient? Because if we're, like I said, if you're so hell-bent on putting something down, maybe there's, like, again, I feel like there's this inclination that you need to slow down. You can still make the choice. You can still take the job. You can still make the decision. You can still do whatever. But do it from a place of appreciation. Because even if we're in a shitty job and we move on to a better job, you're like, God, why did I just spend so much time? I wasted all of my time. Instead of looking at it like that, from that light, you can look at it like, you know what? That job taught me a lot about myself, what I'm capable of, what I want, and most importantly, what I don't want. Now that I know what I don't want, I can move on to what I do want. Right? So prioritize that reflection. Okay? And also, too, some of you may be so, it's almost like this catch-22, like you're very impatient to let go of this feeling of burden, but simultaneously you've kind of wrapped your identity around this burden, and letting go of it is just not an option. And that's extremely counterintuitive, but I see it a lot in clients. They've become so, part of their misery, part of their unhappiness, part of their self-worth is completely tied to their feelings of lack and the fact that they don't get what they want and that life is just out to get them. That becomes part of their identity. It becomes who they are. So when they have opportunities to change that, they don't take them. Okay, so just make sure that you're not so wrapped up around your identity and this weight of heaviness that you feel that you are refusing to move forward. Here in the third week, your tribe is your vibe. Keep it to yourself. Because who you may be around may not be somebody who is trustworthy enough to tell your secrets to. Confide and seek the advice of someone who is potentially a wife and a mother. It doesn't have to be either of those, but somebody who is potentially a woman who's very nurturing, who's very kind, who's very empathetic, who is very open. Someone who is potentially a healer, like somebody who is able to hold space for others. Go to that person and maybe seek their advice. You can tell that person because that person is going to keep your secret and probably provide a lot of encouragement. But there are going to be other people who are not. It could be that some of you, like I said, you receive a sense of communication, and that communication is not what it seems. That communication is deceptive, and you need to listen to your intuition. And if that person is giving you deceptive communication, if they are lying, if they are hiding the truth, Do you really want to surround yourself with that person? Here in the last week, stormy. This is card number one. Card one represents the self and it represents creation. Who we are creates our reality because who we are is comprised of thoughts and emotions. And that emotion becomes energy in motion. You are the only one who can make this change, and you are the only one who can make this choice. If you are having to walk away from someone who you feel like you cannot trust, who you feel like is not a safe person for you to be around, but you're hesitant to do so, it's going to create quite a bit of inner turmoil. Okay? So you've got some decisions to make, but have faith that everything that is happening is working out in your favor. So I truly hope this helped. I hope you guys have an incredible month, and we will see you in July.